evening. It's Thursday, March 18th, and I'm Virginia Amos. I'm a Delray homeowner, a realtor with Caldwell Banker, and an enthusiastic cheerleader for all the wonderful people who make Alexandria such a great place to live and work. Tonight, as a prelude to the Agenda Alexandria program on Monday night on Old Town North, we have as our special guest Agnés Artemel, and I hope I didn't cream your name, who is with the Old Town North Alliance. So there she is. Thank you so much.
Hello, Virginia.
Thank you for being with us tonight. And I have just recently kind of really come to understand what Old Town North is and what is actually going on up there. There's a lot going on. And I would love you just to kind of plunge right in, tell us about the Old Town North Alliance and what it is that you are seeking to accomplish.
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you very much for inviting me. I love to talk about Old Town North and the Alliance, so this is a delight for me. So, first, to put things into context, Old Town North is the neighborhood of Alexandria that is north of Orinoco Street and east of Washington Street. It's not at all like Old Town. It's an old industrial neighborhood. We used to have a lot of really bad uses, like the Norton rendering plant.
Oh, good. Now we've got a map up here.
We've got a map, so you can see the dark line is the boundary, and we do go all the way up past Marina Towers, which is really the last building in Alexandria before Dangerfield Island.
Okay.
So Old Town North was the subject of a small area plan that was adopted by City Council in 2017. And that plan helped set the stage for a lot of new development that's going on now and a whole new vision of what the neighborhood could be. Now, I've lived in Old Town North since 1996. I'm an original owner at Rivergate. And there's a little story there, too. My husband, Engen Artemel, was the planning director for Alexandria, and he was the one who did the first waterfront plan and relocated industrial uses. So at one point, it was time for the Norton rendering plant to go. And we did a study that said that that should be office.
Okay.
Well, the market was not conducive to office. So then it became residential. And we bought our house from the site plan drawings and said, this is the specific unit we want facing Orinoco Bay Park and looking down the Wilson Bridge. And we've been there ever since.
Good for you.
And seen a lot of changes in the neighborhood. I mean, it used to be we only had the old giant grocery store, which was very small next to the ABC. Not much choice. Now we're thrilled. We have Trader Joe's and Harris Teeter. So, things improve.
They do.
And a lot of new residential units have been built. The waterfront walkways have been improved. Industrial uses have gone away. We have a lot of new residential communities. So it's a very pleasant mixed-use neighborhood now.
And there, on Montgomery Street in particular, that has just kind of become a hotbed of activity with restaurants and shops and some really luxurious rental apartments.
Absolutely. There were really two key turnaround projects. The first was the Harris Teeter with the apartments above. That was the first major redevelopment in recent history. And the second was what's known as the Edens/Gables project, which is on Montgomery, that has the Oak Steakhouse, the Sisters Thai, and West Elm, and quite a few other shops and restaurants, and has the luxury apartments above, which are just beautiful, beautiful apartments with a lot of amenities.
They are. I've had a tour of that building, and I think it's pretty spectacular. And what some people may not know, and maybe I'll do a whole program on that building one day, is that they set aside several apartments as short-term rentals. And they have really envisioned it as if, say, people are moving out of Old Town and they haven't they're closing on their house, but they don't have the new place to go to right away, or they want to move out while they're getting their house on the market. These apartments are available for like 3 to 6 month rentals, which is not terribly common, and it's really nice to know that that option is there.
Oh, absolutely. And it's been very popular. They leased up quickly.
They did.
And yeah, their staff is delightful. They work with us. In fact, Carl Johnson, who's the manager of the building, is on the board of the Old Town North Alliance.
Oh,
And
nice.
before him was Eddie Mader, who was the development manager for Gables.
And they have
So
one of
they
the
enjoyed this.
they do, and they have one of the nicest rooftop areas in
Oh gosh, it's
town.
beautiful.
It is. It's
The
just
first time
great.
I went up there, I said, "Well, why am I living in a townhouse and having to worry about all this keeping up my house? I should just move to this apartment. It would be fantastic."
I know, it's great. I used to work in. You were talking about the old giant. I used to work in the building that was on Washington Street, but it was right in front of the giant, in the ABC store. And boy, it's
Oh,
just
the Armed Forces Benefit
yes,
Association.
I did. I worked in that building.
Yes, my husband and
Um,
I got that approved back in the 80s.
well, it's such a because there was nowhere to go for lunch.
Right.
It was kind of no man's land right there. So
It
that's been
was
a
for a long
big
time. So
yeah.
Gables has really changed the world for us. I mean, we have 5 or 6 fantastic restaurants there, and then Hank and Mitzi's came across the street. We have TJ Stone's, we have Oat Dogs,
Yeah.
all kinds
And
of good
and, and
restaurants.
and Woo Boy, which is one of my
Oh boy.
and Woo Boy, which is one of my favorites. So let's go in the other direction a little bit because you and I were talking a little bit earlier about the Muse condominium building, which is going up, and of course, the big thing, which is I know it's 10 to 20 years out, but will be the plant,
The, right.
the
The former
the power
Genon,
plant.
former Marantz,
Yes,
former Pepco power plant.
right.
Yes. So there is a new developer for the power plant, and there's going to be a fairly long community process to determine what should go there and what should their zoning look like. It's going to take place over the course of this year. We've already had one meeting on that,
Good.
but there's a lot to be done. But in the meantime, yes, Muse is being built at 1201 North Royal Street. That used to have Metro Stage in the old Smoot
Hmm.
Lumber Warehouse, and also a really wonderful restaurant which was called Mariana's, and then later
Yes.
became later became Bastille, which then later moved to the Braddock neighborhood.
Right.
But we're delighted that Metro Stage is able to stay in our neighborhood. Metro Stage will go to what used to be the Crown Plaza Hotel
Okay.
at 901 North Fairfax, because it's the same developer, Austin Flazier of Carr, who is going to be speaking at Agenda Alexandria as well on Monday, is the developer of both of those buildings. So he was able to take advantage of a provision City Council enacted as part of the small area plan, which is to give bonus density if you provide 5,000 square feet of art space. So
Okay.
Muse will have 1,000 square feet, which will be occupied by the Art League, and the Crown Plaza, now called Venue, will also have space, but that's going to be for Metro Stage. And so Metro Stage will be right in the heart of our community because Montgomery Park, right across the street, is where we have the farmers market. There's also the
Hmm.
tennis courts. There's a playground for children. There's a dog park. I mean, there's a lot going on in Montgomery Park. And we even have a gazebo for small musical ensembles. And one of our hopes is that someday we can electrify the gazebo or have a sound stage so we can actually have amplified music, not late at night, but
Right.
maybe around
Right.
dinner hour when people want to come to the park and sit down and listen to some music. That would be really nice.
So, had this been part of the original small area plan to focus arts in Old Town North?
Well, the original small area plan was in 1992, and it was not conscious of the arts at all. All it did was specify that Old Town North could have mixed uses, which at that time was a new concept in planning. Most
Hmm.
neighborhoods prefer to have housing in one place and commercial in another place, and never the twain shall meet. But as part of the Old Town North small area plan, there were many, many charrettes that everybody was invited to. And as the conversation went on, two themes kept coming up. One was arts and one was innovation. So what happened was that the power plant area became called the Innovation District. And then everything south of there was part of the Arts District. And maybe if we can see the other map that has the yellow block, the other map.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So all these kind of yellowish orangey blocks are the official Arts District overlay. The thing that's not immediately obvious is that that's really for zoning purposes. Those are the areas where development projects can benefit from the bonus density.
Uh-huh.
But to us in the Alliance, which I actually haven't explained yet, we would like to expand those areas, not from a zoning perspective, but from an arts perspective. So, for example, we'd like to see the Fairfax Street Arts Walk, go all the way down Fairfax Street and not just stop on Wythe Street.
Sure.
We also would like to see the Arts District extend into the power plant. So that's something that's on our wish list. But right now, these areas are areas where there's redevelopable properties, and developers are invited to take advantage of the bonus density provisions that City Council enacted.
That's lovely. And it's such a great marriage of of mixed use. And I sometimes I think the arts get overlooked. But when you think of mixed use, you think of retail and residential. But how nice to throw a third element in there. And I would think for a lot of people who are going to be living at the Muse or at the Old Crown Plaza, having a theater to walk to will just be, wow, cherry on top.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic to have actually a professional theater in our neighborhood. The other factor is that the Alexandria Symphony has its office in our neighborhood. Now, granted, that's not a performance venue, but we hope to take them up on some of their ideas to have small concerts in the community, which is something they came up with during COVID when they couldn't perform in a real performing arts center, but they wanted to do smaller shows. So we're hoping some of that will happen too.
That sounds it sounds wonderful to me. I admit that one of the things I've realized during this time when we've been sequestered, so to speak, is that I really don't like crowds. And so, I'm not the least bit eager to go back to a rock concert. But if I could hear music at a small venue not too far from my house, I would be delighted. I would be delighted. And I imagine there are a lot of people.
Yeah, in a small way, we've done that. We have the gazebo at Montgomery Park, and in the summer, in conjunction with the Thursday Farmers Market, the market manager, Margaret Townsend, programs small concerts, a 2 or 3 piece musical outfit, and they play in the gazebo. And so the idea is you buy an empanada at the market and a drink, and then you sit and you listen to the music. For a long time, we also had concerts at Canal Center. There's that amphitheater.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Remember along the walk where there's the small Washington Monument and the lips and the eyes. So the owners of that project have done some summer concerts as well. That all went on hiatus last year, unfortunately, although the market has continued. Margaret Townsend worked very closely with the city's parks department and the health department and made sure all the precautions were taken so that the vendors could keep coming. I mean, there were a couple of difficult months, but now it's back to almost normal.
Yeah, I think people are excited about that. So you mentioned something that we really hadn't talked about, the Alliance itself. So why don't you, because it's not just one group, it's a many groups.
Well, so let me explain Old Town North. We're interesting because we have 3 active civic/business groups, and you'd think we'd be at each other's throats, but actually we're all very cooperative, and I've been involved with all 3 of them. The first in age, chronologically, let's say, was the Old Town North Community Partnership, which was created right after the 1992 Small Area Plan. And for a long time, that functioned as the civic and business organization. And then a few years later, Notice was born, which is the North Old Town Independent Citizens Association, which today is the traditional civic association. And I've been
Okay.
on their board 4 years, I believe. And then the Old Town North Alliance is the newest kid on the block. We've only been here 2 years. So we all have different purposes. One is civic, one is the farmers market and small business. And then we're about placemaking and making a name for Old Town North as a great place to live, to have a job, to own a building, to run a store, to raise a family, to walk a dog, all of those things that really make a strong community. So our mission in the Alliance is really how can we implement all the things that people liked about the small area plan, of which the Arts District is a huge part. So recently, well, maybe a year ago, just before COVID, we had worked with the city's Arts Commission and Office of the Arts and defined a potential project that we could have in Old Town North as public art. And just as we were about to get started, COVID came. The Arts Commission didn't meet for 6 months or more.
Mm-hmm.
And we were very disappointed because we have a lot of really active people on our board, people who are like Austin Flazier developing his 2 buildings, John Long, the former chairman of the Alexandria Chamber of Commerce. We had Eddie Mader from the Gables. Anyway, a whole bunch of people who are really into this neighborhood and want to make things happen. And we also had Maria Wasowski, who was formerly on the Planning Commission, but she was the lead for the small area plan. So she was our liaison to the Planning Commission until she retired recently. So we finally did get restarted on that public art project in January. The Arts Commission has approved it. We now have a small task force working on it, which has 2 members from the Arts Commission, 2 members from the Alliance, and a couple of city staff people. And we are going to have a public art project sponsored by the Office of the Art.
Good.
Month.
Good.
Now it has to go through that process that they have outlined, which means that there'll be a competition for 1 to 3 artists who will then be selected, create pieces of art, and then there'll be an installation. And then we, the Alliance, will promote it, develop a little tour guide, walking tour. Here's where you can see all of these things. There'll be actually 25 or so pieces to it.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
That's our first project.
Good. And I'm sure that people will come roaring back with double the enthusiasm, just because they're anxious to get out there and do something.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, we have so much to do because we have, the Mount Vernon Trail is a fantastic asset to this area. It goes all along the neighborhood, along the river. We work with the Art League School, the little kids. They do demonstrations during we have an event called the Taste of Old Town North in cooperation with the other 2 groups where people, sample things from various restaurants. So
it's good. We've had some comments online. Martina Meyer says that you need to have some Argentine tango at the Montgomery Park gazebo.
That's a great idea.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Absolutely.
We have a shout out to Margaret Townsend. Somebody mentioned Cafe 44. I have not been there, but I have heard so much about it. And it's supposed to have
fabulous.
The best outdoor seating. Yeah, tell us.
They have a fabulous terrace. They started out as just kind of the cafeteria for the office building and grew it into something that everybody loves. They have a very interesting menu. They have a mixologist who creates these fabulous cocktails. They have champagne. They have everything. And then this great terrace, fantastic happy hour in the spring, beautiful view. Yeah, I love it.
Oh, good. And what office building is it in?
It's in 44 Canal Center. That's why it's called Cafe 44.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. And then I'm sure this comes from Mary, but apparently the Zebra Press debuted its first Old Town North section in the March issue, which
Correct.
just came out, and it's going to be a permanent addition to the paper. And so they're going to be listing activities every month.
Right. Margaret's writing a column. I think she's made a commitment to the Zebra to write a column about Old Town North every month.
Oh, good. And apparently, Cafe 44 is opening a rooftop bar called Rooftop Bar 44.
Excellent. We're also
I'll,
waiting for the rooftop bar at Hank and Mitzi's. So we're going to
oh,
be the
okay.
rooftop bar neighborhood. Yeah, we built
Sounds,
it out, but then COVID came and there was no way to really open it.
yeah,
But I think,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
hopefully we'll get there.
Sounds good. Well, things are just booming down there.
Yes, and we have four large buildings under construction that are all residential. And when those open up, we'll probably add 700 or 800 people to Old Town
Mm,
North. And one reason that's important is that that helps support the stores and restaurants.
yes.
So, because people tend to, nowadays, people like to walk. They don't really want to drive 15 miles to a restaurant. And we're very walkable. Fairfax Street, Montgomery Street, those are our two main streets. They're retail focus areas. And we all in the neighborhood make an effort to patronize all of our neighborhood restaurants because we want them all to succeed.
And you've got green space to go along with it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're right there. You're at the boat. I mean, I used to row at the boathouse,
Oh,
so
terrific.
yeah. So I love that park area right in there, and that's one of my favorite walking trails is to come down around the lips and the nose,
Hmm.
and then go on past the boathouse.
Yeah, twice a week early in the morning, I take the Mount Vernon Trail with a friend and go up just about to National Airport,
Yep.
which is a great walk. I highly recommend it to anybody who loves a walk by the river.
Oh, it is. It's perfect. And for new residents moving in there, they're going to be. I mean, it's just such a bonus. I I've said this more than once, but I think if the pandemic taught us anything, it was how much we crave green space and the ability to be outside. And you've got such a nice mix of that, I think, in what you're doing.
Right. So we have several great parks. I mean, obviously Orinoco Bay Park is quite
Hmm.
large, although it's not as active as it should be, but the city does use it for the city birthday celebration and
Right.
a couple of other things. Maybe the jazz festival might be coming. We have Rivergate Park, which is next to the townhouses, and actually, as part of some civic efforts from Notice, there's going to be a COVID memorial, a temporary
Okay.
installation late April through May in Rivergate Park. We have Montgomery Park. We've already talked about how that's the center of the community. But another one I want to highlight is Alexandria House Park. It's
Hmm.
a half block in size, and it's actually not a city park. It's owned by the Alexandria House building, but they have a very active garden committee the last few years, and they have transformed that park through the hard work of residents of Alexandria House. And my friend Eleanor Quigley, who's on the notice board, is very active with that garden committee. And she's also a staunch supporter of tree canopy and open space that you were talking about how important that is. So she's quite the advocate and has done a beautiful job on that park.
Good. Good. I drive down that street a lot. And I'm I'm a little embarrassed that I did
Sure.
not recognize the art on the side of Harris Teeter, but I'm usually going in the underground parking, so I just don't see it at all. So
Right.
so
You really
that's a
have to
good
walk
one.
this neighborhood.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is the Harris Teeter one. That's one of my favorites because it has elements from the history of Alexandria. And if you look at it closely, you can pick out, oh, I recognize that building. Oh, I know what that is. Yeah, that's really, so it kind of brings it back. The
Well,
other
what?
art
Yeah.
picture I had was the one in front of Gables. If you can flash that up, I think people are familiar with it.
Uh huh.
Oops, yeah, there it is.
Yeah, there it
This
is.
is a piece by Tom Fruin, who's actually a very well-known artist, and did a big water tower plexiglass thing in Brooklyn that's actually renowned. But the developer of Gables paid for that installation, and it's supposed to be reminiscent of the Alexandria Canal, which ran right under where it is. So when that
Well,
building was built, we did some excavations and found traces of the canal.
I would say that just if people had a chance to go into the lobby of the Gables, it
Hmm.
it is an artwork in itself, and they have done so much to make it look not like an ordinary lobby to an apartment building. I mean, it's lovely. It's
It
just
is
lovely.
fantastic.
Yeah,
Lots of old photographs and
yeah,
then some other art pieces.
Yeah. But the thing that I really like about the art at the Harris Teeter store is it just kind of illustrates the point that art can be many things and that it can be in many places. And who would have thought about putting that kind of installation on the side of a grocery store? And yet it works beautifully and it adds to the character of the neighborhood.
Right. That's one of my favorite pieces. So
Yeah.
I'm glad. And we at the Alliance are going to try to have more pieces come along. We're sort of going through a list of, well, do we have any walls that are suitable for murals? Should we put a sculpture somewhere? What's a good place? So what that second map shows was the small area plans idea of an arts walk.
Mm-hmm.
And we are actually developing an arts walk project, not this one, the other map, that would go along Fairfax Street into the power plant. So right now it's wide open and we're just tossing around some concepts. What would look good? What would make sense? What would drive people from Old Town up into Old Town North? I'm envisioning connecting somehow to the torpedo factory because that's a huge generator of visitors and interest. But the question is, how do we get them to go north from the torpedo factory past Founders Park and into Old Town North? So maybe a point of interest will be the Robinson North Terminal when that finally develops. And then we cut through Orinoco Bay Park and then go up Montgomery Street and maybe through Canal Center. So anyway, we're at the very inception of thinking about this, but I think that's going to be our second project, is thinking about how the arts walk might look.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. I am very fond of when I go to visit a city is to take walks in the city, but walks that are devoted to a specific theme or to specific buildings, and just break it up into small pieces. And you would certainly have that opportunity doing that kind of walk through Old Town North.
Absolutely. And in this neighborhood, we've also got a passion for history.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for example, Mary Harris from Notice has done a lot of research on the history of the neighborhood. And we are planning some history walks through Notice.
Oh,
in
good.
fact, a couple of weeks ago, Notice had a special program on, it was called Time Capsule, Old Town North in 1921, 100 years ago.
Another comment online is that someone commented this week that the inside of Sister's Tie is the most Instagrammable place in Alexandria. I've only done takeout, so I don't know what it looks like on the inside.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, the first time I went in there, I felt compelled to take a picture too, and then I sent it to Visit Alexandria for their promotional materials, and they loved the picture as well. So it really is true.
Oh, good,
and
good.
The Magnolia dessert bar area is also a very special facade, so it's worth seeing.
I haven't heard about that.
They have these fantastic ice cream desserts that are really complex Asian style ice cream, like Mount Fuji kind of things. Beautiful.
All right, now I know
with the rose petals floating on top.
Oh, nice. All right, now I know this is very far into the future, but going back to the power plant, what kind of acreage are we talking there?
I think it's close to 20 acres.
Wow.
Unfortunately, there's one little power substation that has to stay, where there's all those metal things. Pepco still needs those, but there's still 20 acres. Of course, the plant is going to have to go through demolition and remediation and all kinds of environmental work before anything actually happens. The developer is very capable. We don't know yet what they're thinking, but it'll be some kind of mixed-use project, which, we invite people to participate in the community meetings we're going to have in the next few months, because we're going to help flesh it out. What would people like to see is the big question.
Well, I was going to say that you all have got such a great foundation now that, I would think the developer would be delighted to build on that. It's kind of he's already got an entree to the community, so to speak. And you've got so many things in place that I don't know. It sounds to me like something I would be interested in if I were a developer, tapping into groups that were already actively involved and had done such great work in the community. So I hope it works that way. I know here in Delray, I'm always interested in what's going on around the Virginia Tech Innovation Campus and
Hmm.
Oakville Triangle because I see that as just such a boon to the community.
Absolutely. There are always great opportunities if you can work with the developer.
Yeah,
Community benefits do flow from that.
they do. They do. Everybody just has to be nice to each other.
And I believe in that.
That's right. You want a win-win situation for everybody. So
And I really think it's possible through
I do
cooperation. I
too.
mean, if everybody's of goodwill and takes the time to work out the details, I think it is a win-win.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Well, we're gonna wrap up now. I've loved having you on, and I just want to remind everybody that on Monday at 6:30, Agenda Alexandria is devoting their March program to what is happening in Old Town North, and discussing the issue of density, taking it from, as Inez said, a commercial district now to a mixed use area that has made great strides and is looking to really establish its place in when people come to visit Alexandria, it's not just about walking down King Street. It's going to be going up to the Arts Walk. It's going to be going to Cafe 44. It's going to be taking in Montgomery Street and all sorts of artwork, public art pieces for people to look at. So you're going to be on there with a wonderful cast. I don't have all those names right in front of me, but it's going to be an exciting program. And I'm really glad that you were able to come on tonight and give us a preview. You've got me excited about going down there and just exploring some more of the area.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for the invitation. As I said, I love talking about the neighborhood because we're doing really good things here. So
You
I really
are.
appreciate the opportunity to do that.
You are. And thanks for bringing the maps because that was really helpful to be able to see what you were doing with those things. And I'm sure we'll see some of those on Monday. And so we're going to sign off now. Thank you so much for being with us, everybody. It was a great show. I appreciate all the comments. People are interested in what's going on, and that always makes us happy. So until next month, I'm Virginia Amos. I will see you then.